All right, the hour of 6 PM has arrived. Call to order this regular meeting of the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee. Meeting is being broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel and Channel 1302. The video is also streamed on the city's website and is posted on the city's website and is posted on the website by the end of the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. Copies of the printed agendas are available in the wall pockets just as you enter the meeting room. Public and other city councilors will be recognized to ask questions and make comments on the agenda item that's under discussion. After being recognized, all remarks are to be made through the chair. I will not recognize an individual a second time until everyone who wishes has had a chance to speak. Anyone who wishes to address the committee is asked to go to one of the microphones in the room and identify themselves by name and address prior to speaking. Written comments from the public will be accepted at the city clerk's office until Tuesday at 1 p.m. Our minute taker participates remotely, so please remember to turn on your microphone. And same goes for committee members. We have a full boat of people, so we're ready to go. We have a published agenda, but I'm going to make a change in it and move the last item up to the first. That ask the fire chief to present that, as he has another meeting at the exact same time. That's very, very important, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jason Martin, Fire Chief, and thank you for moving the agenda around for us. I appreciate the consideration. This item that I'm bringing before you guys tonight is basically looking to transfer money and put unspent money into a CIP project. Specifically, it's a 2025 CIP project to replace the ambulance, and I'm asking for consideration of moving unspent operational funds from, it was a grant match line, and we were unsuccessful obtaining the grant, so that's why the funds are unspent. So hoping to put both of those funds together to buy a nice product for an ambulance. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions up here? Yeah. Motion, please.
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to transfer available FY 2025 operating funds in the amount of $39,564 from the Ambulance Transfer Grant Fund, line item 402-0000-580080, to the FY 2025 Ambulance Replacement Program CIP number 40, M as in mother, 0002, B as in Bettina.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion by the committee? Seeing none, all in favor? No one's opposed, unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Heritage Commission, who's going to speak?
Good evening, thank you. Heritage Commission believes that it behooves the city.
Can you just give us your name and?
Yes, I'm so sorry. Molly Ellis, I'm the chair of the Heritage Commission.
And Rosemary Carey, I'm the vice chair.
So as I started off precipitously, we on the Heritage Commission believe that it behooves the city to do something to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence next year, July 4th, 2026. And we are trying to create a framework for some kind of event. We're trying to work on collaborating with the Historical Society. We're just getting this off the ground. So we would like to know what the city can offer.
Did you have something to add before we?
So you're looking for a line item on the budget?
Yeah, we're looking for a line item on the budget. We would love staff support. If the city could offer a city councilor to come to meetings. We don't have a city councilor on our commission.
Committee members? Yes, sir.
So, a couple things. One, I would love to help, whether it's as a city councilor or not. Two, I question whether the city committee should own it. There's a lot of pluses and minuses to that, so we should talk about that at some point, whether that's, I think the likely recommendation out of this group is gonna be that we're gonna put it on more time to have more discussions, but those are things I would watch out for. Running an event, like, I completely agree. I think this would be a great event, and I think the city should absolutely participate and play a good role in it. The also kind of nice part is because it's July 4th of 2026, we don't actually have to put it in the budget this year, as much as there might be some expenses. There might be some stuff we have to do in advance, but there's also, depending on how we set it up, it is also a budget. It would be next year's budget. So just some things to think about of how we do that, but.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're tossing around a couple ideas internally, and we'd appreciate that opportunity to work with Molly and her team to just talk about what it is that they need, some ideas maybe based on past practice, and so we're prepared to come up with some ideas and bring them back to the committee. But again, it is for FY '27, not '26.
Go ahead.
Thank you. There will probably be some expenses that happen in next year, and that's the fun part of trying to figure out how to balance that. It's harder to do sponsorship when it's a city-run event. So I'm on the board that runs the food festival, as well as the vice president for the pumpkin festival. And it's hard to get donations when it's a city-run event. It's harder sometimes. So we should talk about how that's done. But yeah, I think we got to think about it. If it was going to go into the budget for anything, for any kind of city expenses next year, we need to know like now, right? But so I think it's a little late for that. But yeah, generally all right.
Did you have your hand up? Before? Okay, sorry. So, to put a little more scope to it, are you thinking of a big parade?
We would love a parade. How big it is remains to be seen, depending on the sponsors, what the city can contribute, what type of volunteers, like the number of volunteers we could get.
At the
depending on
very least, a band.
Yes.
And some speeches.
Yes.
I understand that.
Also, where we could hold it, depending on the road.
I'm going to keep going because I really like this idea.
Yeah,
and
well, I do too.
So I've already started poking the county on this as well, because I think they need to be a part of it if we're going to do it, because otherwise we're going to have every little town doing their own thing.
Oh, that is something I can speak to. Michelle Walker from the Historical Society went to a meeting of all the different historical societies in the county earlier today, and she said that none of the others are planning any big events on July 4th, 2026, so it would be kind of ours to do with as we wish on that day. So hopefully we could get other towns even to kind of collaborate on making this a countywide thing.
We should do parade. We should get the mayor to sign off on fireworks. He's sitting in here on Main Street. We should do, I would love to have fireworks over Main Street. It's been a long time since we've been able to do that. And there's a way to do it. I think we found a place. But anyway, I'd have some fun with this
Yeah.
one.
And jet planes too.
My husband teaches lessons at the Keene Airport, and he is willing to get involved.
Now you're getting excited. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it would be great to start with a meeting with staff and then, and discuss other stakeholders that we can bring to the table, and perhaps even consider a committee that is exclusively tasked with this. That would be my ideas.
I think that would be an excellent idea. That sounds wonderful, Counselor.
All right, so the only other thing I just wanted to say is if it's the size that it ought to be, in my opinion, it'll be, fairly busy. And bands, and if you want to do that, you're going to have to start asking now.
Yes.
Yes.
And, the National Guard band is fabulous, but you gotta get
ask.
them now.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, I'm going to get a motion as to how we're going to handle it, but essentially what it means is it's on our agenda. It's not, passed or not approved or anything like that, but we're putting on our agenda, and from the discussion you've heard, we want to get together. We'll get some people appointed to work with this, get together with you fairly soon and start talking about what the scope and what are the parameters, what are the other ideas that you want to go after to try to make it the kind of event you want. So
Great.
that's where we're at. Any further
Wonderful.
discussion up here? Members of the public? Mr. Mayor? Did he just volunteer money?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I want to thank Rose and Molly for stepping forward and leading a discussion with the Heritage Commission and seeking their engagement in this project. I think had they not picked this up, we wouldn't be here today. And it needs to get started now, as you folks are reflecting. It's a pretty easy ask. I thought of the middle school and the high school for the bands, but I did not think of the National Guard. Thank you very much for that suggestion. But you see how contagious this is? That the more it gets talked about, the more people want to be engaged. I just came from an event with Monadnock Family Services about to celebrate their 120th year next year, and the question was, how could we be involved in that? And you think of the number of organizations that there are in this community that are 100 or more years old, and it's an abundance. So maybe it's a poster session, someplace in the city hall, among other places. The point is, I think a lot of folks want to be involved. What the structure is, I totally agree. I'm not going to suggest that there is a known structure at this point in time. But the community, my interest in this is coming from the community, not self-inspired. Or I read another town was doing this, and so it sounds like a great idea. Concord is clearly going to do it. They're the state capital. They better do it. But I think for this region of the state, people are expecting something. And I think it's really a good thing for an organization like a Heritage Commission to step forward and say, we want to be involved and be willing to start the conversation. And I think that's the newsworthy point at this point in time. Not to lay out what the program is, not to commit that we're going to be the fundraising organization. Those kinds of things can be ironed out down the road. They're all great questions. Councilor Remy, you've got enough experience in downtown events. This is going to be a great asset to have you involved. So I appreciate your comment before your fellow councilors. And none of us will forget it. But anyway, so thank you, committee chairman, for hearing this tonight and putting this on more time, allowing Molly and Rose to come back as they begin to flesh it out, as other organizations begin to offer their support, and as city staff begin to talk about just what kind of assistance the city can provide. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Get a motion, please.
Move to recommend placing the request for city support for a 250th Independence Day celebration, July 4th, 2026, on more time to allow staff to begin planning efforts with the Heritage Commission to determine the city's role and scope of event.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is some written comments were received after our public hearing last week, and they're in your packet. Cameron Tees in support of outside agency. And he also spoke, so. What are we going to do with these? But, hang on.
I'm Kimberly Romero, Executive Director of the Senior Center, and I'm here in case you have any questions regarding Cam's letter.
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
I'm Kimberly Romero, Executive Director of the Keene Senior Center from Stoddard, New Hampshire. So I'm here to represent the Senior Center in case you have any questions regarding Cameron Tease's letter.
Okay, so our process, the way our rules are set up, that once the public hearing has occurred and that opportunity for the written comments to come in, that's what the record shows.
Okay.
He was also here that evening, as was another representing you, so got the message well, and it's been considered. Our final consideration is next week, when the budget's passed by the entire council, not just this group.
Okay.
But thanks for coming down, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So, your motion.
Move to recommend the written public comments from Cameron Tees in support of outside agency funding for the Keaton Senior Center be accepted as informational.
Second. Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion up here? If none, all in favor? No one's opposed, it's unanimous. Thank you. Community development.
Should we just get started?
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, councilors. Paul Andrus, Community Development Director. I'm here with Rick Wood, our multi-titled expert, fire marshal, chief building official. We're going to tag team this. We've got the two items are pretty much linked up, and if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, if we can just sort of talk about these two as they exist together. So I've been with the city for 4 months in this role, and previously I was in a very similar role in a different community for about 10 years. And even as part of my conversation, as I was interviewing for this job, part of the aspects of the services that community development provides, planning, building, health inspections, code enforcement. Having something that we're talking about tonight is really critical to being able to provide modern, streamlined, transparent services with respect to permitting and plan reviews. And so we're here tonight to talk about, to request funding for an online permitting platform where we had already requested a match of roughly $33,000 in next year's budget for a federal grant that we were pretty certain we were going to receive from FEMA. That has since been clawed back, unfortunately, and so has left us looking at different opportunities to see where we could get some funding to be able to get this program set up, both from the standpoint of taking the information that we already have in our system, migrating that over, and getting a new, and then getting the new system set up. So I would just say that the system that we're talking about is, like I said, it's something that most offices, modern community development permitting offices these days have, and it's an experience for customers to be able to do everything online with respect to everything that we do in our office, which is building, planning reviews, code enforcement, health inspections, food licensing, be able to do that online if they want to. It's extremely transparent. The experience itself, from a customer perspective, is very easy to use. The systems themselves allow us internally to be able to in real time. And Rick's going to help me fill in some gaps here in terms of what that experience is, because he's also actually not only used it, he's been on both sides of the counter, so to speak, with respect to systems like this. So we are requesting funds from our personnel lines because of vacancy savings in the amount of $93,000 to be able to get this program up and running with the idea that we already have $33,000 that we've requested. And this would essentially be for our first year to be able to get the software up and running and professional services to get everything set up. And then there would be some continuing costs annually thereafter. And then the other piece to this is that the conversations that have been going on over the past year, this is prior to me actually arriving, has been with a company called OpenGov. And my experience with these systems and having seen what they have to provide is actually, there's so much functionality that's available to this that it's hard to go into those details tonight. But it is definitely it's going to allow us in all of our aspects from a business operations perspective and also from a customer service perspective to do a lot of things that the community wants us to do, which is to be business responsive. We want to be transparent. We want to be able to provide robust reporting and have a dashboard so that not only we know internally how we're doing and how quickly we're turning things around, but the community themselves and council will be able to know and get that information as well. And also, OpenGov happens to own a city software program that we're currently using in Public Works, which is called Cartograph. And that's their inventory system, and actually does quite a bit of other things associated. And this would allow us not only to work with that program, but also to work interdepartmentally with community development reviews, planning, building, fire, Public Works, and have that all fully integrated. So with that, I think I'd hand it over to Rick to just sort of comment on what kinds of functionality would somebody, an applicant, be able to expect when they log on to submit a permit application?
Thank you, Paul. Just a couple of kind of higher level things. So I've only been here just over a year, as most of you know. And one of the things that was loud and clear when I came on was this idea of us functioning as one city. And this platform will allow us on the code enforcement permitting side to actually do that. We can all use the same programming, the same software. The client, on the client side, actually gets one interface. So they go in, they select what they want. We don't have to point them in 15 different directions. The beauty of the system is that when each client goes in, the first time they go in, they actually get an account set up. They have login credentials that they have, so they have a historical access to everything they've done in the system. If they're a user that comes and does multiple touches with us on the permitting or construction side, their material is already there as far as their name, address, business stuff. So it's a robust system that is available for efficiency gains. So think about this. We get requests almost daily for copies of documents from prior years, from different letters of permitting. This is all tied together, so you can go in and self-serve and find a letter that was issued, you know, in the past on a different project. You can go get a copy of your certificate of occupancy after the fact. All of those things remain accessible to the applicant, which is kind of a nice feature. The other nice thing that we can't do now, and I've heard nothing but this since I've been here, why can't I do something like actually apply and pay online? And so this system will allow us to do that. They've worked directly with other municipalities that have the same ERP program that we use, and they have created essentially the ability to have a very efficient transfer of information over so that we don't have as many hands-on touches, there's not errors in transcribing and that kind of stuff. So that's another feature that our customers have been really asking for. As a user, The nice thing for me is, you go on Amazon and you buy something, you go to the postal service and track your package, you can actually see where things are. In this system, we get to actually have the workflow customized by us. It can be changed at any point in time. And the customer actually sees that same kind of, Domino's Pizza dashboard. You're in process of getting there. It's being delivered. It's been delivered. Or it's with the plan reviewer. It's with Public Works. It's with the fire department. It actually turns from red to green when it's complete so that the customer gets a real-time assessment at their convenience. So it is a robust, modern system. It's in use in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, for example, a few hundred communities in Massachusetts. I believe Lebanon, New Hampshire, as well as some examples that are using this product. It also, Paul mentioned Cartograph. It natively ties to Cartograph because they are owned by the same company. So imagine we have permits associated with Public Works for infrastructure. That permitting stuff can actually be shared with the system and then makes that more efficient on the infrastructure side. So it is something that's going to provide a great service to the city, and it will really help us from a management perspective. Right now, our current system is not, frankly, very friendly at all. From a management perspective, it's very difficult to check where things are. Each individual user has a dashboard, so each inspector, each person in the department has a dashboard. They know what's in their court, and then we can set timelines to let us know. So it's going to increase our ability to manage and make sure we're performing to what the expectations are, as well as the customer seeing it firsthand on their own site.
And I would just add to that the reporting on this is something that's I think going to be very much appreciated. It's very customizable. We can look at different aspects of the workflow and pull different performance measures out in ways that we would never, it would take such a long time for us to be able to do that currently. And I just would add, yes, very often I will walk by a meeting that staff are having, trying to pull information out and use our current system, and quite often you can hear groaning. I mean, it's just something that they don't have the tools right now to be able to actually do the things that they would like to do internally as part of their workflows. So this is something that they've been working on in anticipation of having something like the system we're talking about. They've developed standard operating procedures. They've really gone through and set the table to be able to have a new suite of tools that they can provide better service with. And so with that, I guess we would just
If I could, Paul, I'd just like to add one more thing. The other thing that I think this system offers us that this current system we have does not offer us is on-the-fly customability. We can change and add a field to an application. The application process has actual conditional logic, so we can say if you choose this kind of permit, here's the fields. Right now, we blast you with 40 fields and hope you fill out the right ones. So it's going to be a much better user experience, as well as for us, helping us manage that workflow better, because we can customize it and be agile and change as the community needs us to change.
Great. Questions up here? Yes, ma'am.
Can you just go back to the cartograph, or, how does that fit in, and what department is that in currently? And you're talking about it all connecting.
So Cartograph is the city's asset management program. It's used by Public Works and Facilities. So that's what we do our work orders for facilities for example. I can't speak exactly to how Public Works uses it, other than I know it's used to track our assets. So city infrastructure, that kind of stuff. I'm sure that the Public Works Director could add flavor to that.
It has much more functionality than we've described ourselves here.
Yeah.
So.
He's sneaking up behind you.
I could actually talk about,
Thank you.
is this on? I could talk about Cartograph all day. I'm a little bit of a Cartograph evangelist. My staff rolls their eyes when I start waxing philosophical. Basically, it's an asset management system, as the gentleman described. We first started using Cartograph back in 2007, 2008. It was basically a requirement of the city's consent decree with the EPA related to sewer overflows. We had to create and adopt a modernized computer work management system. And that was called Cartograph Navigator at the time. And was used to track routine ongoing maintenance for the sewer system. Since then, we've adopted it to use it for all kinds of asset systems. So our water, sewer, roadway, bridges, storm drainage systems, street trees. We have the dams, traffic signals, signs, all of the mechanical equipment at the plants, all of it is in this one system. And it does things like reminds us to do periodic maintenance for, pump that has to be maintained every so many hours. It'll send out automatic reminders to the management to get that done. It's also the home of our request system. So when you use your app on your phone and you submit that request to have a dead animal picked up or to have something fixed in your neighborhood, that request actually goes into Cartograph. The system automatically parses it out to the correct manager, the correct department. So if you put in a bike path complaint, it'll go to Kara and her team. But if you put in a manhole rattling complaint because there's a manhole that's making noise in the street, it'll go to Todd and his team. So it does a lot of stuff for us. We use it during CIP time to come up with the plan for what's going to be built over the next 5 to 7 years. I could talk to you for days about Cartograph, but
I
you
get
get
it.
the point.
Thank you. Okay, so next question. So what does the city currently offer in terms of your department and permitting process online?
We currently use a system called iWorks, and my understanding is, and it provides some basic functionality, mostly around internal workflows, and as applications and plans and such come in, it allows us to track internally who is reviewing it, what the steps that need to go through to actually get the applications reviewed and approved. And I'm gonna let Rick step in here. I'll just say that it doesn't produce reports, that I can use, that anybody can actually look and see what is actually happening from a higher level. And I would say our planning division has been trying to use it with their workflows as well, but the functionality just hasn't been there for them, and it's been very frustrating. But I'll let Rick, because they do use it on the building side a little bit more.
So I'll give you a whole list of things it doesn't do. Okay. Currently, you can't pay online. Currently, when you submit your application for anything, any kind of permit, it goes off. You can't see it anymore. It's just there. You can't add to it. You can't modify it. You can't do anything. A lot of times in our world, we need more information, so we send back a plan review to the applicant. The applicant then has to either email that to us or drop it off, and then we have to upload it or scan it if they drop it off and then upload it. So from an efficiency perspective, it doesn't offer any of that. The current system doesn't allow the applicant to see what stage it's in, so they're constantly calling, asking what the status is or who's got it, and then they've got to call another department to see who's got it, where the new system will have a dashboard where they'll actually see where it is based on our workflow and mapped out process. Those are just a few of the things. The other thing is that the current system, there is no visibility between departments. Right, so you have a different module for every single thing we do. So planning has a separate module from the building permit side, which has a separate module from the fire permit side, which has a separate module from code. So the stuff, even though it's there in the data set, it's not easy to digest all together. This is a much more comprehensive program that allows us to have that all together so we can achieve what we've been looking to do, right? This one city approach. I think that's probably the biggest thing that's exciting to me about this package is we finally get to a platform that we can all use. We can set up workflows interdepartmentally, and we are operating as a unit instead of many different units.
So my last question is, would there be any concern, like when you don't have that one-on-one conversation with somebody who's an expert in code or whether it's fire or building. Like those little things that you're not going to know from doing everything online, like,
Yeah, I think the short answer is we don't expect everybody to want to do it online, right? So you can still come to the counter, you can still call, we'll still interact with you exactly the same way. But the lion's share of our business are people that this is what they do for a living. And so the problem we have is that we're actually delaying their ability to get the process that they need through because there's so many disconnected steps. This will increase huge efficiency from a permit delivery perspective. When the permit's issued, you get it emailed to you. When you get your certificate of occupancy, you get it emailed to you, right? So it's going to give a much greater efficiency for those larger operations. We're still going to have one-on-one service and provide that personal touch that you're describing to help people through any project they want.
it sounds like it'd be really efficient and certainly a way for all the departments to be talking to one another and I know that there's been lots of frustration for developers with our code in particular. So, I mean, this sounds like it'd be a phenomenally large step forward in a positive way for everybody, the city, staff, and people, the customers, I guess you could say. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two questions. The first is, I saw that the projected first year for the contract date would be July 1st. Do we have a general idea of what the actual go live date would be for the product to be live for people to start using?
Well, we have a ballpark, and that we think that it's about 8 months to be able to get from when we have the contract moving and then to go live. It'll depend a little bit in terms of, like I said, we've done a lot of groundwork already in getting ready for not just the transfer of information, but also the standard operating procedures and the things that we need to be able to build the workflows. So I think conservatively, we would say probably 8 months. That seems that's kind of brisk, but I think that's also realistic, I think.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so sometime early next year then?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. And then I love this idea of modernization and really kind of bringing us forward and giving this great product. Sounds like it's super beneficial to both the citizens and to the city as well. So, and it sounds like OpenGov specializes in municipal services, and this would be our second product for theirs. Are there other products that they offer that the city's looking at and that we might explore in the future?
They do have a couple other product lines, but we haven't really gone down that because we've committed to other programs, right? The city has, the civic clerk and those types of things, but they do have a suite of municipal modules that could be used.
May I? Thank you. We did use OpenGov some time ago for budget transparency, and it provided a very high-level overview of where we were in our fiscal year in terms of our spending and our revenue. It was for public consumption, and what we found was that it was not utilized, so it was discontinued. But that was the only other usage we've had in the past until OpenGov became the owner of Cartograph, which we were already using. They are a very robust organization. They have lots to offer, but like they said, we have pretty well taken care of our other needs. But we're always open. We'll always be open. Some of the other software and database systems that we're using don't necessarily need the robust capabilities that OpenGov has. So for Cartograph and for permitting, planning, and inspections, and for our finance systems to be that high level is expected. But for some of the other operations, I wouldn't see us going to a product of that size at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I might have missed it. Is this a perpetual license or is this an annual cost?
So I think in the document, you'll see a year 2, year 3.
Oh, sorry,
So
I was
there
looking at
is
the
a-
motion. I wasn't at the document. Yeah.
Is that in the document?
Yeah, it is on the second
241.
page.
I was just looking at this, not that, I see it, yep.
Yeah, and just currently, we have, our existing contract with our existing system is, what's that annual cost for that?
Rough numbers, it's in the 25K range currently.
So incrementally 35K, or incrementally these numbers?
So incrementally, right, these
That's
are,
correct.
the challenge is we can't go live with one without maintaining the other for at least that year. So this year, there's really no incremental savings whatsoever. Next year, there'll be an incremental savings of roughly 25 grand against these numbers. Because
So
we
just
won't
saying
have to pay.
The total here is showing about 60 grand a year ongoing.
Correct.
That's inclusive of the original, the cost that we're paying for Cartograph? Or is that
That's,
incremental to
Cartograph's completely separate from
Got it.
this.
Okay.
Yep.
Now I understand, thank you.
Members of the public?
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to expend $93,557 from fiscal year 25 community development.
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to expend $93,557 from the fiscal year 25 Community Development Department CDD personnel funds for the purchase of the OpenGov permitting software platform.
Second, sorry.
So it's moved and seconded. Any further discussion, members of the committee? Seeing none, all in favor? No one's opposed, that's unanimous. Now you want to buy it.
Now we want to buy it, and this would be a change order, in essence. So that's the request that we're, asking for, the authorization to approve a change order to our existing OpenGov contract.
Okay. Questions up here? Members of the public? Seeing none, motion please.
Sorry, put my glasses on to read. Thank you. Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute a change order to the existing contract the city has with OpenGov for the inclusion of a cloud permitting platform.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Further discussion, members of the committee? Seeing none, all in favor? No one's opposed, unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bohannon.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Andy Bohannon, Deputy City Manager. First item before you tonight is we need to create a intent to apply for the LWCF grant, grant round 36, and this would be for the Ashwillet Green Space Project. So if you're familiar with Ashwillet Street, Ashwillet River Park, that parking lot that's been there forever now is kind of just a grass field, and this is where the Monadnock Conservancy is going to be calling its home, future home. We are in some development related to that in the process of having that parcel donated over to the city. So if you're not familiar with the LWCF, that's Land, Water, and Conservation Fund. This comes from offshore drilling. Once you receive a grant and put it on that particular parcel, it's parkland for perpetuity. Ashwillet River Park already has that, received a grant back when it was first established. So that is another checkbox in favor of this particular application because they're extending the footprint. So this intent really is to create the park that it's been on the radar for quite some time. It's never been in the CIP. It's been in the back in the appendix for the purposes of it wasn't ready. I've had this grant application ready several times and then pulled it related to just JRR just wasn't ready in the process or the Conservancy. So now that they are, we're getting closer. We have 3 years to execute once we accept the grant. If you recall the timeline, because this is kind of important. We submit the intent now. The application doesn't happen until November, December, whatever they determine from the state. And then if we get accepted, there's a review period. We find out in like February, and then we have to submit to the National Park Service in like May, and then it gets reviewed. So like this time next year, we would be finding out if we actually received the grant. And then 3 years from that period, we would be able to execute. So my process is that we would have something tuned up in the CIP for you this upcoming cycle, because we'll be doing the capital improvement program next budget. And so that would be there for you to see, and we would be requesting a maximum grant award of $500,000. I think the funding part of that is still kind of to be determined, and we may, when we come back to you in December or whenever, we need to get another letter of authorizing the city manager to execute the grant application. We would have those numbers defined at that time, but we are in the process. We have a meeting next week to kind of define what the playground would look like, what the parking lot, some of those costs. Those aren't needed at this time, but they are needed for the next application.
Thank you. Questions, comments up here? Members of the public? Motion, please.
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to execute an intent to apply for LWCF Grant Round 36 for the Ashwellet Green Space Project.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Members of the committee? Seeing none. All in favor? No one's opposed, unanimous. You have the next one.
I do have the next one, but I am going to withdraw the motion, the recommendation. So we've been working with the county. We wanted to, the county was going to be the grant writer, and they approached us. Some timelines are very tight, and in order for us to get everything completed, it has to be done within like the next several days. And we wanted to work with the music festival kind of as a capstone to this particular project. They're interested, but again, tight turnaround for them. And so we're coming back next year with this application and grant request. We'll have everything tuned up, bad pun, sorry, for the Music Fest, and we'll see what we can do at that time.
Thank you. What's our process for just?
Yeah, we had this come up recently. It's still gonna go up to council. I think it's to allow the petitioner to withdraw. It's
Okay.
not an accept as informational. I think we got confused doing that last time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you.
The airport,
Well, just to clarify, you should do a motion to accept the withdrawal.
okay.
Move to accept the withdrawal of the request for a letter of commitment to the Levitt Music Series grant project.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor? No one's opposed. Okay.
Good evening, Dave Hickling, Airport Director. This agenda item, I think we're all getting pretty familiar with. This is the third time we've come ahead with this request to accept federal aviation grant for the taxiway reconstruction project. We've bid this several times. We weren't able to get funding in a timely manner in order to be able to award the contract. We do have a bid out now. We're having a bid opening next week. And we are anticipating a quicker turnaround for the grant this year because the grant money is already at the state. We're not waiting for it from the FAA. So we are hoping to get that grant mid or to late July and start work in August and get this project done this calendar year. So we're looking for a recommendation for the city manager to authorize to do all things necessary to accept, execute, and expend this grant funding.
Okay, thank you. questions, comments up here? Members of the public? Seeing none, a motion, please.
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to accept, execute, and expend grant funding for up to the amount of $3.3 million from the Federal Aviation Administration Airport Improvement Program for Taxiway 9 Reconstruction Project.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? No one's opposed. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your next agenda item deals with agreement for construction engineering services with Greenman Peterson, Inc., GPI, for the Island Street Infrastructure Improvements Project. We've bid this project 3 times now. The first time there were exceptions and low bidders submitted bid that made us not want to select them for the work. Second time we bid the project, we didn't receive any bids. So there was a question at some point this year whether this even this project was going to go to construction. We beat all the bushes and found every contractor that could potentially bid this within New England that would come and do it, and we're able to get 4 bids this most recent time. We bid the project in April, May, which is a little late for bidding a project this size, but we were able to get four qualified bidders and two bids that were within the project budget. We also concurrently have advertised for engineering positions, both for a civil engineer, project manager, and inspector, with the intent of them essentially covering this project or shifting our existing personnel to cover this project during construction. We have been unable to hire people for this position. These positions, we've been close. We even had a project manager, civil engineer, who we had a start date with and then pulled out and went to work for another municipality, unfortunately. In light of this, and in anticipation of construction starting as soon as possible on Island Street to be able to get as much of the project done this year, we have a notice to proceed for the project of June 23rd of this year, so a week from this coming Monday. And we are looking to bring GPI on board as the construction manager for this project. So they'll oversee quantities, be the clerk of the works, and make sure that the quality of the work is being met and conformed to the contract documents, similar to how they would do for a DOT job, which is why we solicited scope and fees from 3 engineering firms in order to select a firm. GPI had the most competitive price and also the availability to do it. There's also a economy of scale for the city, both the city and GPI, where they'll be inspecting other projects within the city, managing multiple projects for us. So essentially for this year and part of next year, they'll have staff that work directly for the city as inspectors and civil engineers managing projects. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, but that's essentially where the request is coming from. I apologize. This project is being funded through the sewer, water, and drain highway funds. There's funds available in all those projects to pay for these engineering services. So it's not a request for additional money. We're just using money that we already have in project funds.
Questions? This includes the intersection with West Street and Antique.
It doesn't include the light. We bid that out separately as part of this project. We had, I think, $150,000 roughly to do that work. The bids that came out specifically for that scope were closer to $400,000. So what we're doing is making an interim improvement of that system to be able to hold us over until we reconstruct West Street, and reconstruct all of that as part of West Street is the plan. So, yes.
Because they continue to give us problems. They just.
For
they don't
sure, for
let you
sure.
all
Yeah.
They're like me. right?
Yeah, I'm working on the PO now to be able to do those repairs, so that system will be able to limp along until we do West Street.
Okay, thanks on that. And the contractor you've selected to do the job,
Yes,
who's that?
the contract's been awarded to SCR Construction West.
Okay. Any further discussion up here? Somebody's got a motion?
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to execute an agreement with Greenman Peterson, Inc., AKA GPI, for engineering services during construction as part of the Island Street Infrastructure Improvements Project, 32 M as in Mother, I think, 0224, 34 MI 0224, 75 M 00624, up to the aggregate amount of $250,000.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? No one's opposed, unanimous.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We have exhausted our agenda. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
For a minute, I thought you were disappointed, Tom.